Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Busiso Olga Mavankeni. I'm going to give you the introductory remarks to the costing of breeding programs, results and perspectives from DR&SS Maze, ZARI Maze, and NARO Rice. Excellence in Breeding conducted a training course on the Queensland University Breeding Costing 2 from the 27th to the 1st of October 2021 in Harare, Zimbabwe. And 4 NARES organizations were represented by breeders, and these were DR&SS from Zimbabwe, NARO from Uganda, TARI from Tanzania, and ZARI from Zambia. In total, 15 breeders and management staff were trained, and the training covered 8 crops, that is maize, wheat, rice, soybean, sorghum, millets, cowpea, and bambara nuts. Moving on to the tool itself, the University of Queensland Costing Tool helps breeders to develop financial models of breeding pipelines targeting specific product profiles. It can also be used to estimate costs of running current breeding pipelines. It can also be used to modify the scale of elements of current breeding pipelines, and also to compare the cost of alternative breeding pipelines. I hand you over to my colleague, Ms. Ronika Mukaro, the maize breeder from DR&SS Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mavankeni. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ronika Mukaro, and I'm with the Department of Research and Specialist Services, Zimbabwe. I'm going to present costing results for the Zimbabwe Maize Breeding Program. The program has a total of 4 product profiles, which includes the ultra early to very early product profile, the early to medium maturity group, the late maturity group, and the biofortified varieties product profile. All these profiles were costed, but for this presentation, I'm focusing on the early to medium maturity product profile. This profile has the highest market share in Zimbabwe. That's why I chose it. The bar graph that you see is showing an overview of the total cost of all the project components. On the nurseries, that's the germplasm development. The F4s, yes, the highest cost center, and this is followed by the F2 generation. Probably because of the number of entries, there's large number of entries there. For the evaluation trials, the AVTs had the highest cost center, and this was followed by the third-party trials. And the third-party trials, I refer to the trials that we host for our past partners, like the CG centers and the private organization. Next slide, please. What you are seeing are the top cost activities within the highest cost centers. So for our nurseries, pollination bags had the highest cost. This was followed by the storage envelopes. And for the trials, data collection for flowering records had the highest cost, and this was followed by the per diems. Yes, with the costing too, we managed to deduce the cost per row for conducting different project components. And from the table, you can see that a 4-meter row of selfing nursery is costing $5.02. And if I move on to the evaluation trials, if you look at the AVT, a 4-meter row is costing $9.87. And for on-farm trials, a 5-meter row is costing $6.32. And for the third-party trials, a 4-meter row is costing $8.08. Yeah, with this, I can hand you over to Miss Lubasi. Over to you, Lubasi.
Thank you, Madam Ronika. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lubasi Sinyinda. I'm under the Maize Breeding Program, which is under Zambia Cultural Research Institute in Zambia. Okay, these are some of the results from one cost component, that is the medium maturity product profile under ZARI. So under germplasm development, the F3 showed the highest cost component, as can be seen from the graph. Under the trial evaluation, the NPVT, that is the National Performance Variety Trials, showed the highest cost component because these are independent trials that are carried out by our Seed Control and Certification Institute. This institute is the one that does the release of varieties, and it assesses breeders' varieties for distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability. The top cost activities from the costing tool were identified under the nurseries as the cost of pollination bags. The labor cost for hand pollination also is a cost because it's carried out over a number of days, and the cost of storage envelopes also. Under the trials, the labor cost for data collection, especially for flowering, is one of the highest cost activities, followed by the PDMs, because we have some off-station trials, which are planted as far as 1,000 kilometers from the station where we are based. Also, the cost of travel to these off-station trials was another top costing activity. This is just a summary from the costing tool, what we managed to deduce. Under the breeding nursery, the cost per 5-meter row was found to be $14. For the on-station preliminary and advanced yield trials, the raw cost was $4, while for the off-station trials, for the preliminary and advanced trials, it ranged from $6 to $7. For the on-farm trials, the cost per row for 5-meter row was $11, while that for third-party trials was $6. These third-party trials are the trials which we host for CGR centers like Summit and Harvest plus other seed companies. I think of note on this slide is the high cost per row for the breeding nurseries, because here we have a lot of materials which we are assessing. Thank you, and I'll hand over now to my colleague from Uganda.
Yes, good morning from Uganda. This is Samson Ojok, a rice breeder with NARO. Like my colleagues have given an overview about the costing tool we have been using for costing different breeding programs across Africa. For the rice breeding program in Uganda, we focused on the aromatic rice pipeline, which is one of the major pipelines that we have in our breeding program. After using the University of Queensland with results that are indicated in the graph shown above, and from the graph you can see that for our trials, the national performance trials, those are the NPTs, have the highest cost, and this is attributed to the several sites that are involved, and then also the off-station travel to carry out the experiments. And then if you look at the advancing nurseries, the F2s, the F2 has the highest cost compared to all the other stages in the advancing nurseries. And this is mainly because of the high population that we deal with at that stage, since at that stage we have maximum segregation. In this slide, you can see the top costs as per the breeding costing tool output. We categorize them into 3 different categories. That is the top 3 costs for advancing nurseries. We find that labor for post-harvest data collection is the highest, followed by labor for nursery evaluation, and then also labor for harvesting the nursery. And then we have the on-station trials, where we see that the post-harvest data collection per plot is the highest cost, followed by agronomic data collection, and then trial harvesting. And then when we consider off-station trials, we find out that the per diem payments, and then the cost of travel off-station from the top 2, and then finally followed by the labor cost for post-harvest data collection. All right, so here is the cost summary for the output from the costing tool. These are all in averages and in US dollars. You find that for the crossing nursery, we considered the per unit, the unit to be a pot, because we use potted plants for crossing nurseries and F1. So the cost per pot of the crossing nursery is $7.44 US. And then for the F1 is $7.11 US, which is a figure that we find is within our expected range. And then when we look at the average for advancing nursery, it costs us $8.05 per 5-meter row. And then for on-station trials, it costs us an average of $4.64 US per 5-meter row. And then off-station trials costs us around $5.28 per 5-meter row. And you will realize that the on-station trial is a little cheaper compared to off-station trials, and this is mainly because of the travels involved. That is where I have to stop. Let me call upon my colleague, Ms. Mavankeni, to take us through our recommendations as per what we have come up with.
Thank you, Sam. Moving on to recommendations, we have realized that the University of Queensland breeding costing tool is a dynamic tool that can be easily used by breeders across breeding programs. It can also be used as a managerial planning and decision-making tool to optimize the breeding pipelines. We can also use this tool to rationalize our work. For example, in one of the programs that just presented, data collection on flowering was a huge cost. So we can rationalize this costs by carrying out data collection on few stations for highly heritable traits. This tool can also be used to improve control, to improve cost control. In one of the programs that just presented, we also noted that third-party trials were a huge cost incurred by NARES, and this can be reduced. This can be rationalized by sharing the cost between the NARES and the private organizations that we host. We also noted that labor costs were also high in one of the programs, and we can also improve on this one by introduction of equipment that can be used to reduce the labor costs for harvesting. The last recommendation is that we can also use this tool for capacity development. A few breeders were trained. We can cascade this training to other breeders in our programs and in our countries. At this point, I would like to thank Excellence in Breeding for affording us this opportunity to be trained in this important tool. Thank you very much.